Welcome to today's explainer. We're journeying into what I like to call the abstract vector realm to uncover the hidden physics of the English language. We aren't just looking at words today. We're actually going to look at the invisible forces that build them.
So what if I told you all these floating words? Object, reject, inject, project, eject, interject, dejected, are powered by a single ancient force. Most of us, we just memorize these as separate vocabulary words and move on. But honestly, that's doing language a massive disservice, because every single one of these words shares the exact same engine.
They all orbit the ancient Latin root jacere, which evolved into ject, meaning to throw, cast, or hurl. That's the secret right there. Whenever you see J-E-C-T in a word, I want you to immediately picture something being thrown, movement, force, direction. But in English, this concept of throwing becomes way more powerful than just tossing a baseball. It literally becomes the movement of ideas, emotions, and arguments.
Here is our flight plan for mastering this word family in today's explainer. We're going to cover the ancient force of ject, decode prefix gravity fields, look at core words in motion, explore real-world connections, navigate some tricky spelling bee traps, and finally, look at motion with meaning. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the ancient force of ject. Here's the core rule. Ject never works alone. To decode its movement, you've got to ask three vital questions. First, what is being thrown? Second, where is it going? And third, what prefix is controlling that direction? You see, ject gives us the raw force, but a force without a direction is basically just an explosion, right? It absolutely needs something to guide it.
To answer those questions, we need to understand the gravity fields giving these words their direction, which brings us to Section 2, decoding prefix gravity fields.
In our prefix system, each prefix acts as a distinct directional force controlling that ject energy. Think of these prefixes as literal gravity fields. OB is a red resistance field, meaning against. RE is a reverse field, pulling things back. In provides this green inward suction, literally pulling into. E or EX, that's an outward burst, an expulsion field. Pro is a blue propulsion field moving things forward. Inter is a purple spike between flows. And D is a gray downward gravity field. So, the prefix provides the direction, and ject provides the force.
Let's see how these prefixes collide with our core root in Section 3, Core Words in Motion.
Notice how wildly physical these meanings are. If we take OB and add ject, we throw an idea against something to object, literally a collision of energy fields. If we take RE and add ject, we bounce it back to reject, kind of like an unwanted item bouncing back into the void. IN plus ject means we force something inside, to inject. And E plus ject, we explosively launch it outward, to eject. You aren't just speaking, you're directing vector graphics right in your listener's mind.
And the motion just keeps going. We shoot a beam forward to project ideas. Just think of a movie projector literally throwing images forward onto a screen. We throw an energy spike between flows to interject, which is just interrupting a conversation with a sudden burst of speech. Or, and I find this fascinating, we can even feel our energy sink downward when we combine DE and ject to feel dejected. Emotion itself is represented as downward gravity. How cool is that? Now these forces map directly onto the world around us. Welcome to Section 4, Real-World Connections.
Ject is a truly cross-subject root, forming nouns and actions that power our medical fields, scientific processes, and emotional states. In medicine, you throw medicine into the body, inject. In physics, you're dealing with objects thrown forward, projectiles. In communication, you throw words between others to interject. In logic, you throw an argument against another to object. And in psychology, you deal with personal views thrown inward, subjective, or emotions thrown downward, dejected. Ject is literally everywhere once you know how to look for it.
But beware, word detectives. We've arrived at Section 5, Spelling Bee Traps, where we need to navigate a tricky asteroid belt to master this system.
Look at this first trap. While they look similar, replacing OB with SUB completely shifts the word from an outward factual reality to a personal, inward perspective. Object means thrown against reality. It's factual, it's observable. Subject, using the prefix SUB for under, means thrown under the self. It becomes a personal, internal viewpoint. They are opposing meaning systems built on the exact same throwing force.
Our second trap is a pronunciation shift. Notice how changing the stress completely transforms the word from a static noun to an active verb. If you say project emphasizing that first syllable, it's a noun, a physical thing, or a plan you're working on. But if you say project, hitting that root really hard, it becomes the active verb of throwing forward. The force shifts just by changing your breath. It's wild.
Finally, don't confuse your directions here. One is a physical entry into an inner core, while the other is a verbal interruption cutting across communication. Inject is going straight into something physical. Interject is throwing something between, usually in dialogue. Getting your prefixes straight ensures you don't accidentally say you're going to inject a comment into a meeting.
This brings us to Section 6, Motion with Meaning, where everything comes together. As Professor Quill brilliantly states, spelling champions don't memorize words, they decode motion. This perfectly captures why we're looking at language this way. Understanding structure is infinitely more powerful than rote memorization. Rote memorization is fragile. If you forget a letter, you're toast. But if you understand the underlying motion, if you can actually see the vector realm working behind the text, you can decode almost anything English throws at you. Whenever you encounter a complex word out in the wild, run it through this precise 4-step decoding strategy to unlock its true meaning. Step 1. Spot the ject and know there's a throwing force. Step 2. Look at the front of the word to find the prefix gravity field directing it. Step 3. Combine them to find the pure physical motion. And Step 4. Apply that motion to the context. Is it an action, an emotion, an abstract idea?
We started with this simple equation. Ject equals throw. Just a basic physical action. One Latin verb, jacere, transformed into 4 simple letters.
But in English, it becomes so much more. It becomes physical movement. It becomes emotional movement. It becomes intellectual opposition. It becomes communication flow. And it becomes scientific processes. The single root expands to map the entire human experience.
Once you see the underlying structure, you realize that absolutely everything is motion with meaning. Every word you speak is a tiny vector, pushing ideas into the minds of others. You are constantly generating gravity fields and hurling concepts across space.
I want to leave you with a final thought to reflect on after this explainer. Words are not random letters, they are forces in motion. And ject is one of the strongest forces. Thanks for exploring the vector realm with me today. Keep decoding, and I'll catch you next time.